I'm all right, and it's very busy with the elections because we want to get you guys out of office soon so that we can have a new crop of people. Not necessarily you per se, I'm just saying this sixth administration.
You want DA?
The time has expired.
Oh, you want
DA never over my dead body. Oh, sorry. Oh, no, my God. No, I didn't mean to say that, but it's not going to happen like that.
Okay.
I think the moonshot thing is totally misplaced. But here's the trouble. Today I was at a dialogue at the University of South Africa out in Monday, and there was a whole panel of people who were assessing the 30 years of democracy. And that's why I want us to start the conversation. I want to just prick your brain about how do you feel about the narrative? Because since the Tim Tswalo story in February up to now, there's been a contested narrative about how do you best describe the 30 years, right? Do you describe it in glowing terms of Tim Tswalo and then spice it with, oh, but there's one or two screws missing here and there? Or are the wheels coming off in general terms, despite that the framework, like the structure of the car is in place? You've got the constitution, you've got the judiciary, but the wheels are coming off. It's a puncher. The car is not moving at the right speed, etc. What's your own perspective? Like, what would you like to see as a narrative of these 30 years?
Thanks, JJ. You see, from my own experience and how I see it, the liberation truck is on the move, has never stopped. It has had its challenges, sometimes some tire puncture, which are not difficult to repair. Sometimes, how do I put it? Sometimes a battery, whatever. But the machine stays intact. You've already said yourself. You've got all the democratic institutions intact.
The framework, the foundation.
And ANC has never interfered with them, respect them. Whether
so we are told, except until there's a scandal that says, somebody want to tell the prosecutors not to prosecute this one and so on. But in general terms,
our system of democracy stays intact. It finds expression in a number of sectors with regard to what has improved. For instance, you know that if you talk a basic set of service delivery from 1996 to now, there's a huge change. Whether you talk electricity, whether you talk water, whether you talk pipe water, you talk formal housing, which was in 1996 about 65%, now 88%. And even if informal settlement increases, if I may use the term, it increases decreasingly in terms of proportion. It increases, but...
Oh, no, that's Matabate code. The code from Limpopo.
The rate at which formal housing is increasing...
is decreasing.
The proportion of the informal housing is getting smaller and smaller. I was just looking today, JJ. There's a chap called Siabulela Xuza. He's a rock scientist. There's a planet that is named under him. Siabulela Xuza from Mthatha. That planet is between Jupiter and Mars in the asteroid belt. Those are major successes. If you go to, I was surprised to be advised that the digital watch technology that is able to detect your pulse and everything is it's licensed by a company in South Africa called LifeQ. These are things that have come out of this country. And you go to even to connections. Before 94, we had about 4 million fixed connections, mainly meant for what? Blacks were excluded, township, as you know. I remember I grew in a village, I've never seen a line. From 4 million, as we speak now, we've got 104 million connections in South Africa. Ownership of mobile stuff is about 163% and so on. As we speak now, if this thing was falling apart, you wouldn't speak about 15 submarine cable being laid in South Africa by a number of international, IT companies. As we speak now, about 5 billion that is pending. 3 billion in Africa is meant for South Africa. As we speak now, JJ, the data center capacity of Africa, 80% of it is hosted in in South Africa. those are investment by international investors in spite of energy, what we call threats, because they see the trajectory that this truck is not ending here. It's got power to move a distance. Already, electricity, we have seen that this car has got stamina and it's resilient.
Why? Because we didn't have load shedding for 50 days.
All you say, even before the 50 days, by the way, it has been decreasing. The load shedding, the staging, the frequency and the scale has been going down. So I'm tempted
it's
to
not
say...
It's not a pre-election gimmick.
I'm tempted to say, why would you do that? For what?
For desperate measures.
Do you think ANC, unless you want to believe that ANC is made up of weird people, sick people, and fortunately the people, the collective I work with, and especially the Minister of Electricity, the chap I've worked with as a mayor. Remember when he was a mayor in Tswana, I was a mayor in Watuko.
So he's a good guy, but the issue is that he was at pains to say it was not sudden, it was all the work that's been done in Soma. Because the taste, as they say, of the eating is in the pudding. So we'll see, how long after the elections we can sustain this, because it's important that we hold leadership to account, because the number of times we are told load shedding is going to be the thing of the past has been so many times we have lost count, and therefore we were not unreasonable to be doubting Thomases, even when we see something good that's happening. I mean, Dan Marokani, it's an excellent appointment. I mean, you've been doing excellent appointments recently. I mean, your CEO of the SABC, excellent appointment.
Excellent appointment.
Okay, we'll come to that just now at the last segment. I want us to zone in on this whole thing of the narrative. Do you think that when you listen to the opposition, because I know that the assessment of 30 years will not be a smooth ride because of the elections, because people want to say, these guys have failed, we can do better, right? And that somewhere in that narrative, right, the real assessment of the 30 years could be lost. Can you comment on this? It looks like there's a general consensus that the first 15 years of our democracy were excellent, not because we liked Mandela and Mbeki or whatever, but because the economic indicators tells us so. We have 23% unemployment rate. We now have 40 or 60, no 40% extended definition. It's chalk and cheese, right? Economic growth was 5% at some point in that first 15 years. It's at 0 now. Doesn't matter how you decimize it. 0, it's 0. Right? 3, unemployment rate for young people is 68%. In that 15 years, it was under 30. Just those 3 indicators. And then there was a point where things began to go south. Is it not important that you acknowledge that dichotomy of the 30 years so that people don't say, 30 years was all bad, or it was also wonderful and in Zolwik?
Well, it depends what you are thinking about. There's no doubt 15 years or 16 years, there was a huge performance.
Yes.
But we have acknowledged as the ANC that there was an intervention, a counter-revolutionary intervention, and the effects to that. We take responsibility because it happened under our leadership. But you must understand, it's difficult to expect the people you trust to do the things that gotten done under what we call state capture. Whether you go to SARS, whether you go to ESCOM, and all those kind of things. If they are done by those who we entrusted, to whom we entrusted, it's not easy to anticipate they would do the things I have done. Remember, I was a Deputy Minister of Finance. Tlantanene, who was a minister, under who I was actually, I learned a lot, dedicated me to deal with what we call, with SARS. To discover that people who were heading key strategic units were simply removed as heads to be made a pool somewhere. No less than 50 chartered accountants exited the system. You ask yourself, what was this chap trying to do? Point is, if you don't like the model that you find, at least demonstrate the model that you want to bring in. And my argument is that, I've always had this argument, I'm happy President Beg is also speaking about it, is that I've always said, if you want to steal money, why don't you steal money and leave the machinery operating? Why do you eat the money and eat the machinery at the same time? Is it about corruption or about something else that we don't know? Because President Babi says, and I thought media would speak strongly about this. President Babi says, if you deliberately sabotage electricity, you sabotage revenue, you want the state to be dysfunctional.
To collapse, yeah. And
there are deliberate interventions to do so. You go to NPA, you hear what he says about Jiba, about Nlemeza, who is the Secretary General of another party now, about Mkhwebi. The things they did were deliberate. And they were deployed by us with trust, under the leadership that we trust.
It's interesting because your analysis almost gives me a sense of a hands-off approach, or maybe for lack of a better word, like that these things are happening there far away.
But I've not. I said it's our people. I said at the beginning they are deployed by us. When I said,
but that's not far enough.
When I said, JJ, we're entrusted.
Yeah,
I can't be hands-off.
No, you're hands-off in that you didn't go far enough. Today, one of the things that was raised.
How far do you want me to go?
Consequence management, right, is absent in our political culture, and that's part of the legacy of the 30 years, right? And it reminds me, in our student days, when I laugh because, it's exactly the same as it used to be in South. If you wanted to discipline a South comrade, you better be mad. Because they'll say, what? You can't do that because the opposition are going to laugh at us and what. So it looks like there's the same culture because it's now even 18 months. You cannot sit here and explain to me. And I asked your cabinet colleague on Monday, what do you say in cabinet when you are sitting there and you are sitting with people who have been mentioned in the state capture report, who have not taken the report on review? 18 months pass, nobody has disciplined them, neither in the party nor in the state. Now, the people at home would want to just get a sense of what your answer is around that, because you may be doing many good things, but corruption reverses some of those gains. But what's worse is that people get away with it. I made an example of Scopa. You've been in Parliament at some point. Scopa received a list of 2,000 civil servants in 2009 who were doing business with themselves. DGs who were giving their girlfriends business, their mistresses business, whatever, calling businesses in their children's names, and bizarre stuff. And those lists, it's evidence given to Scopa. Not one of them is in the corruption register or is arrested. Maybe some of them were dismissed in the back door because we don't know. Deal with that issue of consequence management for me head on. What is the problem?
Well, maybe the last NEC dealt with issues of renewal.
The last, you mean this
last NEC,
the few weeks ago?
2022. That one that ended in 2022.
Oh, you mean the last structure?
Not the NEC meeting.
Oh, okay, yes. The NEC, yes.
Dealt for not less than 3 years with the issue of renewal and put it on course. A lot of comrades got suspended, others got fired. All those, for instance, who are facing charges and so on. We've dealt with those issues. As we speak now, you can even check our list. If you check our list, it has dealt with the issue of moral orientation. There is only a case, there are few comrades whose process has to be has to be completed.
Or has not started, let's be honest.
It has to be completed. It has to be completed. They are there. They are supposed to, if, for instance, you need to go to Integrity Commission, Integrity Commission has to pronounce about you. If there is no clarity about, if your case is not clear,
or you are not charged,
you need to go to the DC or the ASC. The SG is better placed now to tell you at point what, at point so on. But the NEC said, these 5 comrades, there are issues that must be cleared about them.
Yeah.
But because processes have not been completed, I know people are not patient with us when it comes to processes.
Yeah, because they feel that the consciousness has left the room. Why should those people wait for... They know they stole, they know what they did, but they need somebody, the court, to pronounce or to be charged and then embarrass the ANC in the process, like it happened with your Speaker of Parliament. It's just a new allegation. The allegation been hanging over her even before she was elected. You still elected her even when she was under investigation. I'm I'm just wanting, after the break, because we're going to go to a break now, for you to pick up on that part of what would give the society confidence, right, that you are serious about fighting corruption when you are not able to demonstrate, right, within your own ranks. Before we get to the civil servants of which you are in charge, where people are not being charged, are not being fired for stealing every year by the Auditor General billions. Nobody's in prison for that. The Auditor General will have to go and ask for more powers because she had given up on you acting on your own people. We'll talk to Mondli Gungubel. We're reflecting on the 30 years of democracy that South Africa has been able to export. Can you believe this particular theater play that was just here, the Market Theater, hit the Broadway big time, and coming up with a blockbuster movie that is a staple diet of many countries, particularly on Youth Month. So those are some of the good things. Nobody's saying, the wheels have, completely fallen off. But we are saying you can do better because the apartheid state is not your benchmark. We expect better. So I need you to tell me straight in my face, if you are in charge tomorrow, how would you deal with this issue of consequence management? Because if you go back to Mangaung, 2012, this was a big issue there at that conference that gave birth to the Integrity Commission. But between 2012 and now, the terms of reference of the commission have to be changed at least 3 times because people are saying, pulling their heads, this is not working. And even the previous Integrity Committee felt neglected and ignored. I don't know what the current one feels. I haven't spoken to them. Address me on consequence management.
Let me say this to you, JJ. In the last policy conference, which you always precede the elective conference, in 2022, on the sideline, President Beki was asked a question about the possibility of ANC falling on the wayside. You know what he said? He said, this country is not ready for the death of the ANC. And I agree with him.
Why?
Yeah. I mean, the complexity of the transformation of this country.
Yeah.
I want to make this argument without fear of any contradiction. There is no party that can contest ANC in understanding the complexities of change in South Africa.
Okay.
I'll give you another example.
Yeah.
ANC. So what I'm saying, why am I saying this? The state capture created a situation that caused a lot of divisions in the organization.
Yeah.
So we ended up doing things which are outdated, which are low standard. Let me tell you what is the low standard. I mean, established democracies do not have these processes that we have to deal with matters of conscience.
Conscience, yeah.
You on your own, you take a stand.
And you fall on your sword.
I always make, I hope I'm correct on this, I always make an example about Gary Hart in America contesting Reagan. I don't know whether he was seen passing a brothel or something like that. He had nothing to do with it. But it became a story, and he pulled out of what you call, of the land. Because when you do that, it's not about whether you are guilty or not. You are helping your party not to get involved in your private, what you call, life. Sort those things. Eric Kaya, I always use this example. Eric Kaya now, who is in the office of the Premier, he got accused of abuse of a certain lady, and he got acquitted in court. But when that case was pending, these resolutions we're having now, these guidelines, were not there. And he was one of the prospective first, there was a possibility he was going to be the first mayor of Ekurhuleni, because the chap was prominent in the hard worker. When he got accused of this, he said, when my party is trying to explain itself to South Africans with regard to what it stands for on local government, I don't want it to be diverted to speak about itself and myself.
Talk about yourself.
Because of this, I'm pulling off. There were these guidelines were not there. Bob Mapas, I can list a number of comrades who did this.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make is that the state capture and the division around it created a situation where because the trust amongst comrades was low, you needed to establish a process.
Yeah.
Because it is important, JJ, to keep ANC together. So I'm saying it's not a luxurious thing. It's not about fun. It's about the interest of this country. So,
I'm sure it's important for you as members to keep it together, and you are not because you are divided.
It's important for the country.
No, but we must interrogate that, because not only was it Mbeki say this, even Tatese Rode was here to say, the sky will fall if the ANC was not in power. The sky hasn't fallen in the Western Cape. It hasn't fallen in the various metros. It hasn't fallen. There may be problems, but it hasn't fallen. Secondly, which ANC are we supposed to now keep together? Your ANC is fractured. People left there to form COPE. They went to form UDM, to form EFF, to form PAC, to form all sorts of fractures. Now they've gone to form Konto Esizwe. Think about it. Now wait. Which means that they could reconstitute this ANC that you are glorifying. So I agree with you that maybe you need to keep together some kind of an experience, some kind of historical memory. You can't just bring completely green people to come and run. But those people, unfortunately, are no longer just residing in the ANC. They reside in the EFF. They are your children. You gave birth to them. You expelled them for whatever reason, which was a bad idea. Now they have a party that's now giving you sleepless nights. Same with COPE. You could have kept those people together, etc. So I think we must disabuse ourselves of this thing that if the ANC doesn't come to power, then why are we going to an election? Then we shouldn't go to an election. We're going to an election because people must choose you or unchoose you. And I think that it's wrong for yourselves as leaders to give an impression that if the ANC doesn't govern, the country will fall. The country won't fall. There will be a new government. You will be in opposition for a few times.
Let me tell you this, JJ.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done. Let me just give you one example.
Yeah.
In 2016, when we were going for local government elections, you go and check your survey around Tshwane, around Ekurhuleni, around Joburg, as we were going for those elections in 2016.
Yeah.
The satisfaction survey was at a high level in terms of
the ANC.
Of the community.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about ANC. Go and check your survey. You can check Professor Everett and a number of them. When we were going for it, people don't know this, by the way. Those metros were doing good work, even their rating, all of them. You can go and check them, including TABANE.
Yeah.
But no one is asking a question. Why were they voted out? It was at that time, there was a huge question about President, what you call Zuma.
Yes.
Every time we were contesting,
you had to answer that.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And I want to argue that the voters misfired. They decided to hit well-run municipalities as a matter of fact. And you go and check, since they were overthrown, what happened. So that I bring this thing close home.
Yeah.
Go to Tshwane, where it is now. Go to Joburg. When Parks was running Joburg, financial ratios, accountability.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go on and on and on and on. Look at the projects they run. In Ekurhuleni, you know what was happening. You can go and check even the corridor between OR Tambo and Pretoria.
Yeah.
But people, an organization that was properly running those municipalities got removed. And all of those got in a mess. It's a matter of fact, JJ, right? So all I'm saying is that you don't have to believe this. But those three municipalities are factual explanation of what, when you just remove the ANC in the manner you do, this is exactly what happened. Are we entitled to be elected?
But no, you're not.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
But our capabilities as compared to all these other parties.
But the ANC can't wash its hands of Joburg. I mean, you have been in charge of Joburg for the longest time. You're not in charge for 3 years. You are back in charge in the chaos that is there.
You've
been put the mayor of another party, 2 or 3 seat party to run the thing.
Let's clear that.
Yeah.
I'm saying when those 3 metros were purely run, this is the fact.
Yeah.
After that, they were not purely run by exclusively ANC.
Yeah.
And you know our country is still growing in as far as this thing we call coalition.
Yeah.
I don't agree with people who say coalitions are bad. All I can say is that our democracy is not yet mature for that.
Yeah, I think that's one thing. But to say the sky will fall if the ANC doesn't come to power is fear-mongering, because you are saying people must go to elections.
But you're using an analogy of sky. I never spoke about sky.
No, I was lumping you with Serote and Begi.
No, that's a hyperbole. I didn't use the sky.
Yeah.
But I said, when ANC is not there, this country, I mean, let me tell you, the complexities of this country, especially when it comes to cohesion, unity, deracialization. Look at what DA is doing in the Western Cape. I mean, you guys don't speak about it. I spent 5 years there. You go to Khayelitsha, you go to Gugulethu, you go to Philippi, you go to Cape Town, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're running to
Yeah, but it's like Sandton and Alexander. Why are you even making that example?
No.
The townships, at the state of townships in Cape Town are the same here as Diepsloot, as Alexander, as Serfontein. There's no difference.
But the point is, what you do not actually acknowledge is that here in Joburg and Ekurhuleni, when these parties were running, it's not just the township that are in trouble.
Yeah.
Both the city and the township.
So you're saying we must all be at the bottom?
So I'm saying to show that there is no racial or discriminate leadership. In Western Cape, the townships are deliberately put in that situation. So here, if Alexander used to have projects, Soweto used to have projects, Masondo turned around what we call Soweto, and so on. You can go and check what happened in Attersville and so on. When Sputler was in charge, when Parks was in charge, when ANC is in charge, informal settlement.
I'm not ready to accept that comparison of townships in Cape Town and townships.
No, you don't?
I think it's the same stuff. You've neglected them. They are the same way as informal settlements and so on. Banning of winter, there's fires here, as the same as in Cape Town.
No. I mean, you will be simplistic if you do that. I'm saying to you, when Masondo was a mayor of Joburg, you know the turnaround he did. Soweto is not the same now, like it was before. Soweto has got the commerce, the commercial activities. They were not an accident. Streets and everything, you go the same thing. The point I'm making is that when there's a trouble in Tshwane, it's not a trouble just of the township. It's a trouble together of the city and the township. Let us say there is no trouble. Is there a trouble in Cape Town? There is no trouble, but there's a trouble in townships. So it's simplistic to compare it to this.
I hear you. So in overall terms, now as we round off the commission in 30 years, you are saying the overall assessment must be that things are well in the city, in the country. The state of the nation is strong, but there may be challenges here and there. Because people are thinking, this is a car that's sitting on bricks.
The state of the nation, as far as I'm concerned, I said to you, I call it a truck. You can call it an aircraft, whatever you call it. This thing is on course. It has not been derailed. I said you need to sort out a tire. We've accepted those challenges, by the way. Let me tell you, one of the interesting things, JJ, I'm yet to hear DA accepting challenges. I'm yet to hear these other parties.
Accepting challenges over other parties.
DA is a governing party. But I've never heard them say there are challenges in the Western Cape. Not at all, but there are challenges there. True. I want to see a transformation document of DA. Affirmative action, transforming. I mean,
they don't like it.
There's nothing like that. So, according to DA, there was never racism. There was never exclusion of blacks. There was never a spatial apartheid. Nothing of those sort. People were just the same, and so on. I am yet to hear them saying that. We accept our problem, but we get murdered for accepting. Our conferences have acknowledged our weaknesses. 54th conference, this conference, and our leaders. You go to you go to the president's speech, but we refuse to be told that this thing is derailed.
All right,
because evidence will demonstrate that.
Would you concede that you are good at diagnosing the problem, but not good at fixing it, just purely on the basis of your own conferences?
There has been.
Kgalema Motlanthe gives a report in 2007. Fast forward to 2017. Gwede Mantashe gives a diagnostic report, almost a carbon copy. Almost a carbon copy of exactly what was said 10 years before, factionalism, buying of branches, buying of votes, use of money to campaign, all of that stuff in Kgalema's report. And nothing has happened in 10 years.
Can I also draw your attention to something? You said first 15 or 16 years, right? And we are saying to you there's been a particular challenge to step capture and so on. And you are saying ANC is still divided. I don't agree with you.
It's not divided.
Let me tell you, there's nothing like 100% unity. The point I'm making to you is that we are the least process. Do you see any burning of tires? No. It occurred, it's finished. Now, there's a time where NEC members would speak anywhere out of 10. Do you still see that? You don't. Do you still see any members speaking on the sidelines about the position? No. Once the Secretary General speaks, the ANC follows. If you compare now as compared to the past, there is a stabilizing ANC, unless one wants to turn a blind eye to that. It's incorrect to say we continue to be what you were before what you call 2022.
Yeah, no, and I hear that, but I think it's important to, not to believe our own propaganda that all is well. And I want you to attack.
It depends which propaganda.
Yeah,
you cannot disbelieve all your propaganda.
We're going to talk about propaganda after the break, because you are the Minister of Propaganda, because, and it's one of the most unstable portfolios in the New South Africa. You have the 20th Minister. Okay. It's a fireside chat tonight with Minister Mondli Gungubele as we count down to the 29th of May. A whole lot of electioneering happening. And some people saying today was a final step, by the ANC to launch the National Health Insurance, 10 days before the elections, despite all of the cacophony of voices saying, consider this, change this, how is it going to be funded and all of that. Your comment overall on National Health Insurance, you think it's not something that could have waited for you to come back into power in 29?
I just read something. I think it's Africa is a center for development, African Center for Development.
Yeah.
You know the score they gave the president in terms of trust? It's gone to 77. Now, one thing we don't speak about is that these leaders, in all poll surveys, they don't compare with the president, even when he's 42.
You mean which leaders?
All
other
these other parties.
Leaders. Yeah.
When he's 42, the number 2 is 25 or 27, all of them. You go and check for yourselves. Now here, I get this one today that he has moved to what to call. So in other words, the NHI today was signed by a highly trusted.
At the cusp of that.
Exactly, by a highly trusted.
That made
highly trusted president.
Yeah.
Let me say it to NHI. NHI, JJ, is going to have challenges as it moves forward.
Sure.
But it has to start.
Yeah. Start when? Because finally saying just after the election, people can go to clinics.
I'm not going to speak a date.
Yeah.
It has to start because it speaks to this huge challenge in as far as poor people, vulnerable people are concerned, in as far as
inequality
and the resource distribution and all those kind of things, where a lot of money service a fewer percentage of South Africans. This thing has to start. I was watching a clip today. I said I'm going to share it with you. That how it started in Britain. The very people who are opposing it now are exactly the same people who are opposing it in Britain. But you just have to start it. The president has taken a decision, sign a policy that ensures that all South Africans have got access to health, irrespective of whether it's
of their social standing
and so on.
So in practical terms,
because health, in terms of our constitution, is a human right.
Actually, we're talking about that. I mean, the private health sector is catering for only 16% of the population.
And a lot of money goes there.
And the rest of the population has to see how to finish at institutions you have neglected. I mean, there at Kempton Park, the hospital is a ghost town there. There's another hospital here in West Rand where our team went today, which was donated. This is the worst part. Donated by a private sector organization, Anglo-American, during COVID, with equipment and what. Just been abandoned there. It's a ghost town, right? So people are wondering, could the NHI be a panacea for that kind of straightforward stuff that's supposed to be happening? You can't tell me that you can afford in Ekurhuleni to actually have -1 hospital. You need +3 hospitals. Because if you look at the way the others are overburdened, it's inexplicable that you've got a ghost town, a Kempton Park hospital, that's about to be demolished because nobody bothered to make it happen. So just address that for me, because there's always people saying, yes, we hear the good story about all of us must have access to health, but are we ready for that infrastructure-wise? Just here, even in Eastern Cape.
That's why the infusion of the NHI is going to be gradual. It takes into account a number of issues. Personnel capacity deficit, infrastructure deficits, and a number of other issues, including corruption, by the way. Putting together, so it's going to be gradual, but the key thing is that now the president has signed that it must be implemented.
But do you think there was political pressure to make it happen before the elections? Just be honest with me on this. Because if you think about the pilots, there were pilots of NHS, didn't fall from the sky. There were pilots which half of them failed. And I'm not just exaggerating. This is an actual report, right, from the Department of Health that says these things were not as we had anticipated them. And we have to go back to the pilots of NHS.
What I like, you're saying half failed.
Yes.
We follow the lessons of the successful half.
Okay.
And implement this thing. So I'm saying we are not turning a blind eye to infrastructure challenges. We're not turning a blind eye to personnel capacity, all those things. But we can no longer stand and be intimidated that people are going to leave this country. No, we must implement it now. But the government is very sensitive. It says we're going to do it gradually. Yes.
Just finally on the NHI thing, I was at the dialogue of specialists, medical specialists, oncologists, pharmacists, and so on, big crowd on Saturday, right? And there was heartfelt expression to the government. It was represented by the DDG responsible for NHI, that they don't feel taken along with. They're afraid. These are their ways, not mine. I wouldn't put myself in that position because I'm not a health worker. They are afraid that they are going to be chucked out of their careers. They are afraid that they are going to be overburdened because they're already overburdened now. They are afraid that with the problems they have now, even those who are working for the public sector, who are private but working for the hospitals and where there's no support, etc. The whole spiel of the report that Dr. Makhoba gave about Rasima Musa Hospital and similar hospitals, right? Do you think that there is a case to be made there about taking people along with you so that you don't have a situation like now where big medical companies that actually are working with government? I mean, if you look at COVID, it was a story of collaboration between private and public sectors. Why can't that continue into this NHI thing? And there seems to be a rush to sign it and just to hell with everyone.
I think people don't want to accept that there's a disagreement. It's not a rush. It's a disagreement. This thing has been there for a long time. It has been consulted countlessly. The point is there's a disagreement on how to implement it. It's not that people... You can go, the records are there of consultation, workshops, and not just 1 year, by the way. So the issue is not whether people are taken on board or not.
It's the issue is that they don't agree.
They don't agree.
Yes. And you are tired
and then if you look,
of consulting.
If you think you'll only implement NHI
when everybody agrees,
so forget about it.
It will never happen.
It will never happen.
Let's talk about ICT. I know it's not your portfolio, but you've done well. Oh, but I should ask you one more tricky question. Must I cancel my medical aid? I won't need it if NHI comes. No, I just want to understand.
The gradual phasing in of NHI, there's a point, it's going to be analyzed, monitored. There's a point where I'm advised medical aids will be optional.
It won't be necessary.
But for a particular period, you will be paying what to call.
And you go to public hospitals yourself right now? I mean, you don't go to private hospitals if you are not well right now?
The problem is that historically, I have not gone to a hospital because of sickness. Get my point?
Okay.
Yes.
You go to hospital for what?
When I was injured.
But my question is very simple. You got a family and you got needs yourself. If you get injured while you are living here, will you go to Baragwana happily? Or will you only go to a private hospital as a cabinet minister?
No, I'll go to an available health facility, whether it's private or public.
But you won't mind to go to Baragwana?
I won't mind.
You won't scold your staff when you get out of consciousness and you find yourself in Tembisa?
Why when South Africans are there?
So why can't there be a policy in government that all of you will go to a public hospital?
That policy is too late now because all hospitals
are going to be public. All right. ICT, quickly, before we go to a break, just give me in one sentence, right, how you would analyze 30 years of ICT in South Africa. What would be a way that describes, I mean, I could describe it as revolutionary because, you know, you used to have a landline and you got to run on the passage to get an answer. Now you can answer on your, you know, on your person, wherever you are.
ICT has turned around the life in South Africa, be it social or economic.
Yeah.
But if you come specifically to, especially to the mobile, what to call, mobile devices, I've already said to you at the beginning that around before 94, 4 million fixed lines, which were exclusively meant for white community.
Yeah.
Now we talk of 104 million connections.
Fixed lines, or you just
fixed lines, telecom. You know
okay.
that thing is telephone exchange. Do you want to talk to wait?
Landline.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is that ANC intervened just before 94.
Yeah.
When National Party was about to license Vodacom and the MTN.
Yeah.
And said no. During the TEC, remember the TEC phase, the Transitional Executive Council.
Yeah.
ANC intervened and said, no licensing without obligations.
Yeah.
Like coverage of the entire country, including rural communities and so
Yeah.
on. And those were agreed and were implemented. And those, a number of our countries now is covered.
Yeah.
South Africa, as we speak now, is number 10 in internet, what we call interchange, as we speak here today. As I've already told you that we host 80% of the data center capacity. We've moved on those issues. I mean, e-wallet, you know e-wallet, whether it's cash send or
email
or app or whatever, or what we call bank app in your phone.
Yeah.
All those issues. Now we transfer billions of money. Now I just go to the device. Those are huge, what we call changes. You know, look at Amapiano. That song now is consumed by millions in the world because of the social, what we call, social media. I've already spoken to you about that digital watch technology where you are able to run. I've been running comrades and running so on. You are able to check your time, your rate, how many kilometers, how many minutes, how many kilos per minute, and so on. That is a South African, what we call, work.
Yeah.
And I've already said...
So you are basically happy with the trajectory of ICT transformation over the last 30 years?
Just now, as I speak, I reported at the end of March, just from March last year to this time, we have connected, JJ, no less than 749,000, what you call, households. You know what it means to those households? They've got access to a gig for 5 to 6 rand.
Yeah.
You know how much is a gig? It's 80 and above in the commercial world. So this is not a dream story. You go to Kokstad, you go to Modimolle, and so on. The 740-something thousand, they've got access. We expect that number to be 1.5 million at the end of this financial year. In 2 to 3 years, 5 million. If you say average 4 per family, you multiply the number of people.
But you have divested from Vodacom and MTN. You don't have shares as government anymore there. You sold your shares there.
That's how I'm not sure about those. No. Not as far as I remember. No. I don't want to make a comment on that. It's not a matter.
You're not sure?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, why can't you get Vodacom just to pay?
We've got shares in Telco.
We've got shares. They must just pay the Makati chap, and then we're all in peace.
Let's follow
Let's talk about post office. A trusted brand over the years, you know, helping us to receive Christmas cards and Easter time cards. All of that now up in flames. You know, the whole thing has collapsed. You know, it's in deficit. You're retrenching people and so on. Can you just give me a summary on let's call it a word on the post office? Will it ever regain its former glory?
Absolutely. You see, JJ, I think people don't get this.
Yeah.
We mismanaged post office. Mismanaged, right? And something we had the capability to be viable, we mismanaged it down. For instance, if we allow a situation with thousands of workers, we had no positions, we had no vacancies in post office, who were temporal to become permanent. You're actually smashing the viability of the institution. And now you realize late that you're unable to pay what you call creditors. And the option of the creditors is to go for liquidation. Had liquidation, JJ, gone through, there would be no post office today. There would not even the 5,000 that is still remaining at work. So post office, so the cabinet under the leadership of the president had to make option liquidation or rescue. Now, the rescue meant that you go to court and meet 3 requirements. 1, can it stay operating whilst you are rescuing it? Are you going to be able to pay at a limited amount equitably the creditors? 3, do you have a strategy to take it forward? All those requirements are met. I can tell you now, these 2 rescuers got there around July. They were able to table a plan in December, which has been accepted by creditors. Yeah. They are on course now. The most painful
But they also presented the retrenchment story.
Most painful thing is the 4,700 workers with all their families who have to go through. But on that one, we, myself and the Minister Tulas, we are working day in and day out to find different ways in which they could be retrained, in which they could actually be slotted in some.
So you are doing something to
We
mitigate.
are doing something. Yeah. I had a meeting with some of them even today.
All right. We don't have time, but I think we have traversed quite a lot of ground tonight just to get your perspective ahead.
I want to come and talk about others.
The election. SABC, you'll come after you are elected again because there's no time between now and the election. The show is full. But I want you to talk to me about the SABC. Just recently there was a controversy that, the state security wanted to vet the head of news. And it was all kind of a big stink that suggested that you guys haven't left the SABC alone. Just clarify that because, I understand that it may all have been fire and brimstone.
Let me tell you, SABC is run by men and women of stature who are independent. Yeah. No government would instruct them on how to deal with those workers. Yeah. I know they have got the capability to deal with those workers in the manner they deem fit. Yeah. The issue of is that it is their procedure, it is their processes. Yeah. What I still don't know, why did Munare tell the public about this issue? I don't understand. Why if you are being vetted, why can't you just go and be vetted when you've got nothing to hide and so on? All I'm saying that SIPC was doing, it's got nothing to do with government. Yeah. And I repeat, if you know the men and women, the personalities that are there, you wouldn't wake up and instruct them to do that. Yeah.
It's not bankrupt? You think it will turn the corner, SIPC?
SIPC, as you know, is not a secret. It's technically what you call insolvent. Yeah. But because it's ran by men and women of stature, we've appointed now a brilliant young woman, Nomsa Chabedi, working with the chairperson, Ukatu, and with all those men and women who are running the board. If you are able, JJ, from last year until now, to run a technical insolvent and meet almost nearly all obligations, it explains the kind of people who are working there. They have presented a brilliant turnaround strategy. Yeah. You know why you accepted that turnaround? If they were capable to run that institution in this way, we have got confidence in their ability to actually realize the goals that are set in their turnaround strategy.
We're going to have to leave it there. That's a nice place to leave it. All the best for the elections.
Thank you.
And if you are elected again or appointed again to your portfolio, you can come back and tell us what you're going to do for the next 5 years.
Yes.
If you are not appointed, you must also come and reflect what went wrong.
I have no problem.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for
tonight.
the opportunity.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mondli Gungubele, always a pleasure talking to him. He has shown his mettle. He has a track record to speak of. He's not a perfect fellow, but he can answer as much as he can. I mean, all ANC people are in trouble trying to answer some of the things, so he's no exception. But what an excellent conversation. As we reflect, we continue to reflect the whole year on 30 years of our democracy. But until we talk frankly again, may God bless you.